Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Andy Jenkinson, the caravan industry expert. Hi, well, welcome to another video and welcome to finding old caravan factories. Now, this video, I'm afraid, may not prove particularly interesting. But basically, that's the old phone going off. But basically, I've been up into Beverley today and I wanted to see where Willoughby Caravans, Robin Caravans, who were part of Willoughby, were made on Cherry Tree Lane, I think it was. I could find absolutely no clue as to where the factory was. I'd have had to have found somebody who'd actually lived in that area in the early 80s when the factory was down there. Well, late 70s, because they moved the factory up to the Willoughby factory of Robin Tourers. Now the thing was, there was some modern-ish flats that had been built along there, and all I presume was possibly that was where Robin had been, the factory. Then I went up to Victoria Road, because on Victoria Road there was I think it was Riviera and also Minster Caravans, again not major manufacturers, but manufacturers that were still sort of playing a part in the whole caravan industry as well. But again, on Victoria Road there, again, I'd have had to have asked somebody who knew the whereabouts of that factory, because there's a lot of new development gone on there, and I presume that the factory had long gone. Now, I thought, well, I'm not going to leave Beverley, that area, again without finding something else. So I looked up another company that I knew down here, that used to be here, a company called Haltemprice Caravans. Now, Haltemprice Caravans, there was a couple in Cottingham. There's somebody else on George Street called what's it, Dalston, I think they're called, and they made a few caravans, but I've not got time to go and have a look at that. But this one was a company called Haltemprice, and it was a very sort of quite upper market caravan. They made them from about 1969 and they finished in 1972. And what was quite notable on them was the fact they were built on a Rubrio chassis, where most manufacturers used Peak or B&B at that time. So I thought, 14 George, I actually got a number, 14 George Street, Cottingham. So I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come and have a look. And I drove past and what have you. And obviously 50 years is a long time and lots of things can happen. But I found what I think is definitely the factory. And that is the entrance here. This is a printing, t-shirt printing place now, but here at the back is open ground, and obviously there's been things here, but also there's this building, and I would think that Haltemprice Caravans would have been built, well, they wouldn't have made very many of them, and I would think they'd probably be built in a building very much like this. So you've got to cast your mind back 50 years ago, because this would be very different up to a point. These houses would still be here, but the flats at the back may have been just here, I'm not sure. As I say, without knowing anybody here that worked here would be very difficult. Anyway, let me just have a quick look around and I'll sort of give you a breeze around. Right, so I reckon this building here would have been possibly part of the factory. Now I'm only surmising, but this is 14 George Street in Cottingham, so I would definitely say that this would have been the factory, and it's a bit of ground, so they probably had a very small building here, producing only a couple of caravans a week maybe, and they just probably stored them just here maybe in the courtyard here, if you want to call it a courtyard. This would probably be part of their dispatch maybe, and they would go through that entrance there onto the street, because I reckon that this is definitely part of the old bit of the factory. The roof looks very still original. I would say that's the original roof. They've obviously tried to tart it up over the, people have made changes over the years, and I would say that the front of it, you see, is like is like somebody's house really, and whether they've used the house bit as like an office and then all this other bit then as the factory unit. Now there's a new bit up there, obviously that's new been built on, but this I would think this bit here was definitely probably not here. This would be possibly open, and this I presume here was another entranceway. But I would say that's originally the building where they would make them. That's all I can think of, because this is the address, and the fact that this has probably remained is quite astounding in itself and not been built on at some stage or what have you. There's obviously been various things to the floors in different stages and that type of thing. But I reckon this is where they made them. Now I'm going to put some pictures up of Haltemprice. They didn't make very many, but they do turn up now and again. And somebody sent me a picture of a van and said, what is it? And it was a Haltemprice. And they used to call them Haltemprice Hendersons. They only made 2 models. I think it was a 13-foot and possibly 14-foot. But I reckon, as I say, this here wouldn't have been here. I reckon this is part of the factory unit here, that white building. And this, the house bit here, would have been the offices. And this, obviously the entrance where they would bring the vans through to then send them for dispatch. As I say, it's now like a t-shirt spot. But I suppose, but this is 14, I just asked a guy, I said, is this 14, number 14, he says, yeah. And this is on the bins, and it is. And I think they've been made into flats now, but I reckon that was one house at one stage. And that's what it would have been. And I reckon they've used this as possibly the offices, and that's been the production area at the back here. Let's go back through again, sorry about this. So I'm glad, I think I found it. I think I found it. And that is possibly one of the remaining buildings of where they produce them. Now, if anybody's lived in this area and remembers Haltemprice Caravans being here, it'd be great if anybody's all, as a kid, remember the caravan factory. There were so many around here, and as I say, I wanted to do more around Beverley, but there's a lot of, Beverley's changed tremendously, and as I say, a lot of the places of where the factories were have now gone and been built on. And unless you really know the local history, you would never know. So, it's another long lost caravan factory. I've tried to find some others, but there's no sign whatsoever. But this one I reckon definitely was Haltemprice Caravans. Again, a little small maker, but part of the rich tapestry of the whole caravan industry. And a manufacturer that probably produced maybe 100 vans, maybe a bit more over its period of time, maybe 200 vans. As I say, they weren't nothing looking like anything particularly great at the time. Nothing stood out by them, but they were quite a solid van. I remember seeing one at a dealer's many years ago. Right, so Haltemprice Caravans and the Henderson models. 2 models only made, and 1 or 2 possibly still knocking about now. Well, look, I'm sorry it's not been a very great video. I'll put some old shots up of the Hendersons up, and as I say, it's just a shame I couldn't find where the Robin Caravan factory used to be, and so we could relate to that. I did see like a newish sort of flat thing, where flats have been built probably in the early 80s, and I reckon that could have been possibly where the factory had been. So, I'm going to say goodbye on this video, and as I say, sorry it's not been overly exciting. or over interest, but I do still find that quite of interest. That building, I reckon, was part of the little small factory for Haltemprice Caravans. See you on the next video. Please keep subscribing, please keep giving me your comments.